The Supreme Court handing student athletes a major victory, ruling unanimously that the NCAA can't stop universities from giving athletes education-related benefits. We're talking about things like musical instruments or paid internships. NBC News Justice correspondent Pete Williams joins me now. So, Pete, tell us more about today's decision.
Well, you've got it. That's the explanation. A lower court ruled that the NCAA went too far in trying to limit those classroom-related benefits. So things solely related to education, not related to their performance as student athletes. And today the Supreme Court said the NCAA went too far and upheld that decision. So it's not directly about compensation, but the Supreme Court didn't buy the NCAA's legal argument here, which is that those restrictions that it imposed were important to maintain the amateur status of athletics, because if anything erodes that, it would undercut the fan base, because fans support student athletics because they know the students aren't paid.
So, Pete, you said it. This isn't a question of whether student athletes can be paid, but how could this affect that particular battle?
Well, it's going to affect it for a couple of reasons. Number one, the court doesn't buy the NCAA's legal argument here. So if students then sue and say, OK, well, now we're going to sue about something different. This was the result of a student lawsuit, by the way, or a lawsuit filed by former student athletes. If they went to court now and said, OK, now we want to be compensated for the use of our names, images and likenesses. This is where the action is right now in student sports. I'm not sure that the Supreme Court would say to NCAA, you can stop that. And there was a concurrence today from Justice Brett Kavanaugh, who went much, much further. He said there's no way that any other industry could get away with this business model. Restaurants, he said, for example, can't band together and say, we're going to pay our workers less because customers want to eat food that's prepared by low-wage workers. And he gave a number of examples like that. It's a blistering concurrence with the majority opinion today, which was unanimous. Not a good sign for the NCAA.
Sure doesn't sound like it. Pete, the Supreme Court's pretty busy this week. We are expecting more decisions. What in particular are you watching out for?
Well, I think the one that has the largest amount of interest is another student-related case. This is students in high school and middle school. The question is, can the schools punish them for their speech off campus? This is the case of the young woman who was a high school student, freshman, who did not get a position on the varsity cheerleading team. And she put a Snapchat message out that included the F-bomb several times. And so she was kicked off the cheerleading team altogether. She sued. And the question is, can the schools punish students for their speech off campus? So we're waiting for that one. Another important ruling will be the Supreme Court laying out the test for how courts are to decide whether voting restrictions violate the Voting Rights Act, federal law. So that'll be important as we go forward with all these challenges in the lower courts to the restrictions that are being posed by states around the country.
All right, from F-bombs to voting rights, we got a lot to watch out for this week. Pete, thank you so very much.
Okay.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.